Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to give folks another minute or two to hop on. So please hang tight. We're going to get started shortly. And I can see more folks joining. If you just joined us, we're just going to give everybody another minute, and then we'll kick off. Okay, just another few moments and we're going to get started. Okay, I think we've got a good critical mass here with us today. I'm going to go ahead and start kicking off. So my name is Winston Bowden, and I'm a member of the Sawmills team. I'm excited to be here today. I want to thank our partners, ThinOut, for helping us produce this webinar. And we've teamed up today to share some practical insights with you on how to get your observability costs under control, especially Datadog. By the end of the session, we hope you've got a better sense of what's driving those costs. And we also hope that we give you a few ideas that you can take back to your team. Housekeeping. So of course, we are recording this session. This will automatically be shared with all of you after the completion of the event. We love an active session. So if you have questions, please drop them into the Q&A box at any time. We're going to get to as many of those as we can at the end. We're aiming for about a 30-minute session. That's including our Q&A. And as I said, thanks again to ThinOut. This was a lot of fun to put together, and we hope that everybody here joining us gets a lot out of it. So with that, if we'll go to the next slide, we'd love to introduce our speakers. So we're very fortunate today to have two esteemed speakers with us. Zach, our partner at ThinOut, he is a strategic solutions consultant and a FinOps practitioner. He's worked with some of the largest companies in the world, like NVIDIA and Sony. After completing his master's in statistics, Zach spent 6 years in the FinOps space at Aptio and IBM, where he created the Cloud Ability Total Cost product. We're really fortunate to have him. Hey, Zach.
Hello. This is my Datadog right here.
We're glad you're here, and we're glad your Datadog's here with us too. And then from Sawmills, my colleague, Erez, is the Chief Product Officer and co-founder of Sawmills, where he leads the product strategy behind our smart telemetry management platform. He is a repeat founder with a background in developer tools. He was previously CEO and co-founder of Rollout, which went on to be acquired by CloudBees. Hey, Erez.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Zach.
Yeah, so hey, everybody. Pleasure to be here. We're going to introduce FinOut and then introduce Sawmills. So FinOut is an enterprise-grade FinOps campaign, actually the very first one in the entire industry to reach Series C. It was started by engineers that had trouble getting value out of their FinOps tool and finding one in the marketplace. But they came from another background as well in platform engineering. And they were also co-founders of a company called Logs.io, a modern cloud-native observability platform. So this intersection of FinOps and observability is actually built right into FinOps DNA, and you'll see that today. Our customers are some of the world's largest, and our platform is designed to provide this value at scale. Thank you.
Yeah, so hi, everybody. Pleasure to be here as well. A few words about Rollout. Sawmills, we're a smart telemetry management platform. Basically, we manage telemetry data before you send this to the observability vendor of choice. At the end of the day, we've seen that telemetry data has grown exponentially in size. Companies are sending tens of terabytes of telemetry data daily, and that goes unmanaged. We came here to manage this, both from a cost perspective and a quality perspective. We recently launched a customer success story with Big Panda, and we've shown that we've cut their observability costs by 63%. And happy to show you what we have.
Awesome. So we've got a high-level slide or two for each software, a little bit about how they work, and then for most of this session, we'll be spending time in the actual software itself. So how FinOut works. FinOut is designed to connect to all sources of your infrastructure costs. So this is your AWS, your Azure, your GCP, your Snowflake, and of course, your Datadog. Then applying a series of patented and real-time allocation rules to normalize, categorize, and distribute spend and shared infrastructure to your organization's constructs like teams or cost centers or products for powerful FinOps outcomes. Outcomes like a single pane of glass for a team to understand exactly what they're spending, the value they're driving, and potential cost recommendations in the same place. Or the ability to budget and forecast hierarchically after some of those allocation rules have run. And of course, the ability to configure a custom alerting for optimizations, anomalies, budget overruns, designed to simultaneously reach a large number of users, but also be customizable enough to be relevant and reduce noise. So with that being said, let's actually hop into our FinOut product demo. Now, this is exactly what you see when you log right into FinOut. So we've got an easy left-hand nav pane where we can instantly access things like dashboards out of the box, budgeting and forecasting, cost recommendations, anomaly alerts, and more. For today's session, we're going to focus a little bit more on this mega build, which is an exploration surface designed to give you clickability into sources of your infrastructure spend down to individual metrics and individual resources. So of course, this works for GCP, your AWS, your Azure, your Snowflake, and more. But today we're going to really drill down into Datadog. And you can do that with just a couple of quick clicks. So now you're looking at the source of your Datadog spend by the various Datadog products. Products like your logs, infrastructure monitoring, various flavors of APM, even serverless. And these are all going to bill a little bit differently. So we have various things to consider as we look to actually optimize some of these products. Now, we can start with something like infrastructure. For most companies, this custom metrics is a huge source of cost because you can define so many things. We'll actually see in a few minutes in our cost guard section how FinOut can provide some optimization for those custom metrics, especially if you're not actually using them. But for right now, you can even click down into the individual metrics themselves and see how much you're actually spending on various metrics. You have this powerful clickability to instantly get down to resource level. Now, for many organizations, logs is going to be an incredibly important part of their Datadog observability. And as soon as we click into logs, you can actually see some really interesting information. Now, you might want to get this data going back a little bit further. And of course, in FinOut, you can have data for all of your cloud infrastructure going as far back as you need it, whether we're toggling between cost or usage data. Now, once we look at the cost data, it actually sees various cost types for these logs. So you can see various indexing lengths. And of course, the indexing strategy that you choose is actually going to be really impactful because Datadog's going to bill you more for your 30-day indexing versus your 7-day indexing. Now, another component to consider here is also the ingested logs, right? So this is where the logs that you're actually sending to Datadog cost money, even if you're not actually using them. So our friends at Sawmills will show us in just a few minutes how to actually optimize, especially some of these ingested logs where there could be some really big potential for cost savings. If we're in FinOut, what I might want to do is actually drill into this logs. And maybe we pivot this by something like maybe my cost center, my business unit. But let's use my engineering teams to actually understand who's driving or who's accruing the source of spend for this ingested logs. Now, this information might be really helpful. You might want to save this for future use. So you can save a view for just a quick toggle with the push of a button. You can also send this directly to one of your dashboards really easily. So I might have my ingested log for a team going to one of my dashboards. Let's use my Datadog dashboard. Now you'll see one of our out-of-the-box dashboards. And of course, we provide this for a variety of sources of infrastructure. And oftentimes engineers ask, well, do I have to log into FinOut to actually get the value I need out of my infrastructure files? And the answer is no. You can easily send this information outbound to a variety of sources. Could be email, could be things like a Slack or Teams channel. But what can be really powerful is you can actually choose to send this report out, pivot it by your various engineering teams, and have each slice of this dashboard go to a different place, depending upon what team needs what information. You can even snooze alerts to help reduce noise. Really helpful information for getting this outbound. Now, we already took a look at things like your cost by your product and your sub-product. Here's where I might want to also look at those same log costs, and you can drill down to things like my debug logs. So the debug logs will be another area that we actually look at optimizing in that cost guard right sizing section. If you keep scrolling down, now you'll actually see that widget that we created from our Log bill. So here's that ingested log cost.key, so I can save this for that future use. Scroll up a little bit, here's where we'll actually see a variety of sources of infrastructure waste. And you can actually click into this to get more information. So now that we've talked a little bit about the visibility side, let's really dive into the optimization side. And for that, we'll go into cost. Now, Cost Guard is FinOut's one-stop shop for infrastructure optimization. The platform will be broken out into idle savings that you can reduce infrastructure by turning it off, or right-sizing savings where you can reduce infrastructure by sizing it down. Now, what I might want to do is actually connect this to things like those engineering teams or role-based access control. And in this way, I might only want to look at specific infrastructure owned by my ad placement team. So a quick toggle here, this will reload in real time. And now I can see a variety of these optimizations just for that specific team of the infrastructure they own. So here's where you can see recommendations for those custom metrics. So custom metrics, and if you click in for each individual metric, here's where you can see metrics that are not used in any of dashboards or monitors, despite the fact that you're paying for them. So these can be really good candidates for optimization. On the screen, you'll also see things like your log optimization. So here's where we're taking a look at some of those indexed log events. You can come in here with the platform. You can actually mark a status on various right-sizing opportunities to let folks know that you're working on it, to specifically assign it to teams like your ad placement, to mark it as dismissed so you know not to worry about it. Of course, when you click in, you get helpful information too. In this case, we've noticed quite a bit of these debug logs, which are costing you quite a bit, but you might not be using them as much as you want. So what you've just seen is that FinOut helps provide this really helpful visibility into Datadog costs by product and sub-product. And using some of those quick toggling and clickable UI, you can investigate down to individual custom metrics themselves. So this is where Sawmills is actually really designed to instantly reduce your Datadog spend through powerful optimization. So thank you very much for seeing the FinOut platform. But let's turn it over to Erez and see how we can actually start to take action on some of these optimizations.
Thanks, Zach. Let me just share my screen over here. And we got it. So a few words about kind of the problem that we are solving over here. I've mentioned this at the beginning, but telemetry volume has grown, is exploding in size and complexity. We are seeing an increase of 35% year over year in the amount of volume of telemetry data. That means that between 2 to 3 years, you're doubling your telemetry data volume, right? And kind of the sad side to this, let me just move to present mode over here. So the sad side to this is that we have all this data, but 80% of that is never queried, right? So even for the internet, that's kind of shocking, right? So we have a lot of data, and we all know this, that 80% of the data is not used, right? And so the question is, why is this happening, right? Obviously, we have more software and more microservices container that's spitting out data, but we also have a mentality of instrument everything. We also have a lot of verbose and excessive logging. So we've seen, complete stack traces, SQL queries, complete payloads inside logging. There's sometimes OSS tools that companies are using. Think about CADA, Carpenter, Nginx, things that companies install, and they are not aware of the amount of logging that they generate. And then there's two other points that are important to mention over here. One of them is that developers are usually, they don't have visibility into the logs that they generate or to the amount of volume that they generate. So even if they cause a log or a metric to be noisy or generate a lot of data, they usually find out only later in the game. And then the other piece over here to remember is that there's kind of a misalignment between the platform team, the DevOps team, the engineering, the observability team, and the actual developers. So the centralized team usually owns the Datadog build, owns the systems, the observability systems, but they don't own the data. The data is being generated by hundreds of engineers across the company, right? And they don't know the downstream effects of their data, right? And so the last piece is that even if you know that you have data issues across the company, so waste, as Zach showed in a few cases, it's cumbersome to fix. You need to find these issues, you need to find the engineers, you need to talk to them, you need to convince them to do something. Usually it's going to be low priority for them. And this is a constant work that needs to happen inside organizations, right? So just to be Datadog specific for a second, there is things that are very Datadog specific. So Datadog charges for many things. One of them worth mentioning is the ingestion cost versus the indexing cost. So indexing is essentially what you pay to keep for any retention period, and that's usually the higher cost. Ingestion is just anything that you send. So even if you filter out things that you don't need to save for any retention period, you're still going to pay for ingestion. And I'll show in a quick demo how you can look at this in Datadog. But this is important to look at both of these because both of them have cost. Obviously, retention is a big factor. The longer you save the data, the more you pay. And the last thing to notice is the committed versus on-demand cost. Obviously, committed is cheaper, but you are committed to a price, and on-demand is as you go, right? There's other factors like custom metrics and APM, but I'm just going to cover this for now. So let me jump to our demo, and before I jump to the demo, I just wanted to show something. This is Datadog. This is a dashboard you can find in Datadog, and I'll show this how to get to this dashboard. But you can see that there's a difference over here between ingested logs, right, and the index log, right? And over here they're the same, and you can see that there's zero exclusions, right? So if we had exclusion from the index, you would see a difference between ingested and indexed. In this application, there's zero. That means that everything that we send to Datadog, we keep. And one of the easiest solutions that we came across is that companies that do a lot of filtering, they could actually reduce that to zero, the cost of ingestion. So let me before I jump to the demo, I just want to take you through one more slide. And this is just kind of an architecture slide, and I want to show you where the Sawmills fit. So Sawmills, again, is a smart telemetry management platform. We have an agent that sits on the customer side between the source of the data, application, containers, infrastructure, and the destination, observability vendors, Datadog, New Relic, Elastic, Loki, whatever the destination is. So we have an agent that sits on the customer side, and the data, the telemetry data, passes through the agent before it gets sent to the destination. Again, observability vendors. What we do is we analyze the data in stream, and we find these issues that are causing both cost and quality issues. and we surface those out, and we allow you to actually fix these issues in runtime. So basically, you can create data manipulation in stream and actually change the data before it reaches the observability vendor. And the whole point is to say that this is your data, you own it, you manage it, you decide what goes out of your network to the vendor of choice, and only a fraction of the data should actually leave your platform. So let me take you through Sawmills now. So this is the Sawmills dashboard. And you can see that I'm looking at number of messages. I can also look at volume, and you can see that we have, in the past hour, we have 1.8 million messages that we've received, and we've actually sent outwards 1.6 million messages. You can see that I'm sending this to Datadog. We've actually reduced the data volume that we're sending by 7.4%, and I'll show you how we do that. So this is kind of an overview. You can see the breakdown of the individual services that actually generated the data. Now I'm going to move to the Insights tab, and this tab actually shows you the issues that we found in the data, right? So there's various issues that we found over here, and I'm going to go through them, right? You have a name for them. You could see the service. You could see the type, the famous health checks that we've all seen in log lines. And then you can see the impact, both in message and volume. So this is the actual gigabytes in the last 24 hours, and this is the actual messages, and this is the percentage of the total of the daily volume, right? So if I click on one of those, we can see that Nginx has this pattern that repeats, and that is creating about 1 gigabyte, and which is 5% of our total volume, right? And I can see this over time, right? But the system also recommends that I sample this by 5%. And again, FinOut shows you a lot of the data. We allow you to actually take actions. So I can actually preview this. And if I click on this, I actually see the raw data coming in. Again, this is live stream, so I'm connecting to the actual stream of data. So I can see the logs coming in. I can decide what's the percentage of sampling I want to have. So this is 5%. For the sake of the demo, I'm just going to do 50. And I can actually simulate what is this going to do. And you can see that I'm sampling about 50% of these logs, right? This is the famous health check, very low value, and a lot of teams don't need this data. And again, the other side of this is finding the engineer who owns this, convincing them to remove this, waiting for a code deploy, et cetera, et cetera. So now I can save this. And if I save this, I actually deploy this process or this transformation to the live data stream. So I'm going to click OK. And essentially now I've deployed this transformation to the data. And you can see that I've just deployed this. This is a very simple example. There's other examples. So let me see if I have. Yeah, so this is another example, I think, on Datadog. So if I look at this pattern over here, again, same service, a different pattern. I actually could use a different transformation over here. This is a very powerful one, an aggregation. And if I click on this, again, you could see the actual processor. So what this does is actually dedupes the message. So in the span of 60 seconds, if I have more than 5 messages that repeat, I'm going to transform them into one, and I'm going to add a counter that shows you how many messages I've counted. There's also some advanced settings that I could actually mask a lot of these fields, so I have a better deduplication. And if I save this, I'm going to actually activate a deduplication on this pattern, right? So again, a very powerful tool to reduce the amount of data that you're sending. A lot of these messages are duplicated. Everybody who deals with observability knows that duplication around messages is a very common thing, right? So we've looked at a bunch of insights, and you can see that I've taken an action on this one and on this one, right? There's other insights that the system provides. And then what I wanted to show you is the processor page. Essentially, this page shows you all the transformation that you've deployed, right? So in Datadog, we have these 3 transformations. We actually just deployed these two, and then there was this one that existed before. I can obviously go over here, edit those, change those, turn them on, turn them off. But this is a nice management to all the data transformation that I'm having in the system. Now, just to bring everything back together, Again, we have an agent that is installed on the customer side. We call those collector. You can see the collector over here. And then this collector is running a pipeline. A pipeline essentially decides where the data goes to. So the data goes from left to right. We have the data is coming via an agent of sorts. So it can be a Datadog agent, a Loki agent, an analytic agent, an open telemetry agent. And then we've built this pipeline. The data goes to Datadog. It also goes to a dev null, which is just for testing. And it also goes to an S3 bucket, right? I can decide how the data flows look like and which data goes where. And then I can also see on each data destination which processors I'm actually using, which transformations. And at the end, I have this dashboard over here that I can look and see over time what is the value that I'm generating. So we've looked at Datadog. I could also look at DevNull, which is a destination, which currently we're not doing anything. And I could also look at my S3 bucket. So with that, I'm going to throw this back to Winston.
Okay, thanks, guys. We had a couple of questions come in during the conversation. We still have time for a few more, so if you're on with us, go ahead and drop a few more additional questions into the chat. But let's start off with what we have. So a question for Zach. If I'm interested in measuring, allocating, and forecasting my Datadog costs, can I still get value out of FinOut?
Yeah, so FinOut's really designed for all of your cloud infrastructure, but if your focus is observability, like Erez said, we've seen such an explosion of observability and telemetry costs in the last few years that's only going to be continuing. So being able to bring that into FinOut, understand those costs, actually start to connect that with your products, understand what value you're delivering for every dollar of Datadog, but is still just so valuable.
Awesome. Thank you. This is a question actually for both Erez and Zach, so maybe Erez kick us off. But does FinOut or Sawmills have a preferred observability platform of choice?
On our side, we're completely agnostic. We don't care. You can connect any data source to any destination. The whole point with telemetry data management is to allow you to not have that vendor locking. So you could send data from an open telemetry agent to Datadog or to New Relic or to Elastic or to Loki. Also, so the idea over here is to be completely agnostic to the vendor of choice.
Yeah, and I'll add on, a lot of times what we see specifically for those large enterprises is that different pockets, different divisions, maybe different companies through M&A activity often have different observability platforms. So I was working with a company just the other day, and a single team used Datadog, a whole division used New Relic. There was one product that specifically used Dynatrace. It's really common. So we really make sure that we're going to be vendor agnostic as well to provide you all the information you need to make your decisions.
Awesome. Thank you both. Question for both of you, and Zach, maybe if you could start with this one. Can you please explain how you price your platforms? Zach, I'll ask you to kick that one off.
Yeah, so what I'll do for this is actually explain how everyone usually prices the FinOps platform, and it's usually a percent of cloud spend. And this is a pretty punitive model, right? Because for most companies, if you are growing, your cloud spend is increasing. And that shouldn't be a bad thing. You shouldn't be punished for that. You shouldn't have overages for that. So what we do at FinOut instead, we do a flat fee. So we'll understand where your usage is using that volume of data, usually predicted by something like a cost tier. We'll just give you a completely flat rate. And there's no overage that's net of any discounts. You never have to worry about, well, wait a minute, we pay so little on AWS because we've got a great EP. We factor that in to make sure we're really not this prohibitive tax, but we're someone that works with you as your company grows.
Yeah, on the Sawmill side, our pricing model is based on the volume ingested by our agent. So the more the data you send to the agent, the more we charge. Obviously, it's tier-based, but the whole point is to align with customer value. You have a lot of data. We help you reduce the amount of data that you're sending outwards. And so if you have tens of terabytes of data, you're going to send more, you're going to pay more. And if you have, gigabytes of data, you're going to pay very little.
Amazing. I think we're right at time, and I think those were the questions that we had in the poll. So I think we can respect everybody's time, keep it right at 12:30 Eastern. A big thanks to Zach, a big thanks to Erez. We've had a great time producing this for you. As I mentioned before, this will be posted and emailed to you. I'm sure we'll have it on the FinOut's website at some point, social channels, same for Sawmills. So you'll see this in multiple places. Please do reach out to any of us if you have questions. And we are grateful for your time. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the week. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Winston.